and it turned out that the first cultivated sugarcane that was grown in the northern hemisphere for crystalline sugar production was done by Thomas Spalding at Sapelo Island. So what we've tried to do is work with national collections and private collections around the country to see if we could identify that original line. The original line was called, or is called, Purple Ribbon. So we attempted to go through every collection to see if we could find candidates that were identified by those that held it that were Purple Ribbon. Unfortunately, we found lines that were called Purple, and we found lines that were called Ribbon, but no Purple Ribbon. So we brought back all the materials that were identified as Purple Ribbon from collections in Miami and Canal Point, Florida, from Louisiana, and then personal collections. We even got collections off of eBay where people sold us purple or ribbon cane, and we have that material. We put it in greenhouses. We have approximately 25 entries, and we're growing them out, and we'll plant them out in Townsend, Georgia in the next couple days, middle of April. And from there we'll ultimately move that material out to Sapelo Island in the fall to increase the amount of seed for propagation. Simultaneously, we're still combing museums and herbaria around the United States to see if we can find specimens that are maintained in museums that are clearly and appropriately identified as purple ribbon. We really can't do the DNA forensics unless we have that reference material. And at this point we don't have it, so we continue to work through that.
We're going to be the seed starter for this project. We've already cleared the land has already been prepared. We have maybe 4 rows that's 100-foot long that will be planted for the seed starting of the cane. So we are expecting a very rapid growth on these cane because, like I said, we put in the irrigation system, a well has been dug, so the ground has been well fertilized. So this cane should really take off. You know, it shouldn't be any problems at all with this cane.
His crew, I mean, had the field planted spectacularly, ready for us to just throw the plants in the ground when we got there. So I'm really confident that this planting is going to go well, and I mean the plants were ready to start really jumping as soon as they got in the ground.
And I helped care for the plants before they were planted in Townsend, Georgia. We wanted to make sure that they put their energy into the stalks as opposed to the leaf tissue. By trimming the plants, the leaves back to about, say, 2 inches above the growing point, about 3 times a week, that allowed them to put the energy into their stalks. And for the varieties themselves, there's quite a few differences. Some of them had much larger stalks. Some of them were able to tiller more. Some of them you could tell we had a little bout of soil fungus for a short time, so some of them were able to withstand that pressure a little bit better than others. So they all have a lot different characteristics, and so we hope that at least one, if not more, varieties will be well adapted to the climate that they have on Sapelo.
When we got there, the fields were definitely in good shape, and we were really amazed to find out that they did most of the work by hand. In fact, they made all the rows by hand. And for Jerome Dixon, he said that was part of the cathartic process for him, and felt that it was important that they went back and kind of did it the old way. And I think that's kind of what this project is really about, is reclaiming agricultural history.
I'm standing here next to these ruins, and these are the ruins of the first sugarcane mill that was built in the United States. Spalding built this mill around 1805, and this is the first place on the mainland United States that sugarcane was processed. I mean, this is the past, but again, the past is the future. When you look at this, what you see here is you see tabby. And tabby is basically a combination of shell sand heated up very hot with the heart of pine to a high temperature to make a form of concrete, and water is added to it. And this is what we're always fighting. When you look at things, no matter how strong they look, they're always fighting decay of time. And what we want to do is slow that decay of time and bring back, in a sense, bring back the legacy of sugarcane to this island. So the future, I think, looks good, and the fact that people know what it did in the past and they know what it can do in the future. I think those two things together can serve to have us have a better idea of centering this tradition and culture to take it forward and become a focal point, not only in Georgia, but in the East Coast.
And I grew up here, my parents grew up here, my parents' parents grew up here, you know, and so everybody either went to school here, and definitely back in the day they died here, they buried here, and everything went to church here, and so our soul is firmly planted in this soil. And it's dirt. They didn't use, my people didn't use the word soil, they said dirt. so it's firmly planted in this dirt, you know. And and hence I am, and hence I supposed to be until the day I die, you know. And my kids and grandkids and great-grandkids, and hopefully, like one old lady said, even for the unborn, hope they have a place here on the island. And even if they don't do long-term planting, there's always a space in the backyard where they can plant, or the side yard, or the front yard. But but anyway, you know, that they will always be able to put something in the dirt and plant. So we just want to go back now to what our people used to do, because it was a thing to do for their livelihood and to sustain themselves. We want to now go back and make a profit from that very thing. So we want to plant that sugar cane and that red peas and that kind of stuff too, so we can have those things, and the generation can see, well, dang, my great grandmama them used to plant this thing, so we can always have red peas and rice, and plant the sugar cane so we can have syrup and biscuit and cornbread and so forth. And now I'm getting a paycheck from doing the very thing that they used to do to keep the family alive. But this is just a special place. Is you hear people talking about people moving. I'm a news hound. You watch the people migrating from one place to the other, either run away from war, run away from disease and famine. And this place right here is solidly put. The only thing we run away from this island for the fact that there was no jobs. If there were jobs here, very few people would have left from home. I'm trying to do the reverse. I'm trying to bring people back to the island. So if these projects bear fruit, as I say, then we can offer the young people, the next generation, something. It said, here's where you started from. Here's your roots. Now you have opportunity to come back if you want to come back. And because you know, if you become successful, somebody have to clear the field, somebody got to plant it, somebody have to aerate the roots, somebody have to pick it, somebody have to pack it, somebody got to, you know, account for the whole shebang. So here you're creating jobs for people, and I'm age 70, so I'm not getting into cutting no cane. You know, I can supervise the planning of it. You know, say, okay, you do it this way, that way, put it this, no, that's too close, no, that's too far apart, you know, what's up. I can supervise the planning of it, but when it comes down to cutting it and that kind of stuff, that's something for the younger generation to do. You know, they're cutting it and stacking it and preserving it and so forth the right way. So it's a job you're creating for someone, somebody's, you know, to do. And that's what the main thing is, so you keep the community together, because without young people, you don't have a community. So my main goal is to try to hold this community together any way I can. And if the sugarcane project and the peas project will help us do that, then that's what I'm going to do.